Okay, so we're going to do the analytics of chapter 3, which is forecasting. So we're going to do various techniques here. The first method that we're going to do is simple moving average. So simple moving average basically looks at the past 3 months and then taking the average of the past 3 months if it is a 3-week moving average. Or we'll take the past 9 months or 9 weeks if it is going to be the 9-week moving average. Here we have weeks. So we're going to be looking at weeks. The period is week. The period can be a week or a day or a month or a quarter or a year, whatever you get. So whatever data that you have. So here I have data for weekly data. So my first week's demand was 800. My second week's demand was 1400. My 15th week demand is 2000. I'm going to forecast the 3-week moving average first, and then I'm going to forecast the 9-week moving average after that. So if I want to forecast the 3-week moving average for period 4, I'm going to take the average function of the past 3, which is going to be the 800, 1400, and 1000. So that is C3 colon C5, which tells me that I'm going to start with C3 and I'm going to end with C5. That's where that colon is. And then I close the bracket, and that is going to be 1067. Now, I can pretty much copy and paste it, and I should be able to get the moving average or the 3-week moving average for various weeks. So for week 5, the demand was 1500, but the 3-week moving average was 1300. See the difference? There is quite a bit of difference. Similarly, if you go to this end, if you have the 15th week, the demand was 2000, but the 3-week moving average was 2033. It's a lot better than the the 4th week or something like that, simply because we are going through this particular thing has got a tighter demand, a closer demand. That's the reason. If the demand is high, it's going to be there. So it's very inaccurate. It is not very accurate at all. Let's take the 9-week. 9-week moving average is going to be, again, that I'm going to take the average function of the past 9 weeks. So past 9 weeks is 1 to 9. Okay, so I'm going to take the past 9 weeks, which is 1 to 9. And if I take that, it is going to be 1367. 1367 is the 9-week moving average for period week 10. So similarly, I can do copy and paste it, and I can see that for the 9-week moving average for week 15 is 1733, while the 3-week is 2033. We really don't know which is accurate here, because even though I've taken the 9 months average, we don't know. It could include the seasonality, trend, randomness, whatever it is. So we really don't know. It's pretty inaccurate when we talk about simple moving average. Now let's look at the next technique, which is weighted moving average. The weighted moving average basically has got, let's say, this is in months. This was in weeks, this is in months. Okay, so the first month demand was 100, the second month demand was 90, the third month demand was 105, and the fourth month demand was 95. We need to find the 5th month forecast. That's what we are trying to do. Now, I also have as an input these things here. What I have is that I'm going to take 10% weightage of month 1 demand, 20% weightage of month 2 demand, 30% weightage of month 3 demand, and 40% weightage of month 4th demand. So I need to consider the weight here, and then I'm going to do the moving average. You have guessed it now. So we are going to do an average. but the average is basically going to be based on all the different weights and all the different demands that we have. So as we find the weighted moving average for the 5th month, so the equation that we are going to put right now is going to be for the demand, or the forecast demand for the 5th month, is going to be equal to, I'm going to take the 95, which is the 4th week's demand, times the 40%. Okay, because it's a 40% of the month 4. Plus, I'm going to take the 105 times the 30%, which is for the month 3, plus, and I'm going to take 90 times 20%, which is the month 2, plus the 100 times the 10%, which is going to be for the month, the 1st month. Okay, if I take that, the weighted moving average for the 5th month is 97.5. So you can see that if this is little more accurate, simply because I can change the weight. So if I want to, I can change this to 60% and then make this to 10%. Because see, even if I do that, it is going to come as 96.5, because I'm putting the weights differently. Now it has become 95.5 rather than 96.5, right? So I can go back to whatever I have, which is the 40%, and you can see the difference. It is 97.5 to 96.5 based on the weightage. So if I give a lot of weights for the 1st month, then it is going to change drastically also. You can see that. So you can pretty much play with it when you're going to do the Excel. After you go through this tutorial, if you go and do the Excel sheet, and then you can play with it, change the weightage here, and you can see how it all changes. Okay, so that is basically the weighted moving average. We are now going to move on to simple exponential smoothing. The simple exponential smoothing. Again, here we have week 1 to 9, and the demands for the week 1 to 9 is given to you. We are also given one more thing, which is the smoothing factor. And so we need to calculate the smoothed forecast using the smoothing factor. How do we do that? So we have an equation that you need to follow. The equation is f of t, which is for a month, for a month, let's say for month 2, then you're taking, or sorry, for the week 2, then you're going to take f of t minus 1, which is the forecast of 1 month prior, which is the 1st month. So if you want to find the forecast for month 2, you're going to take the forecast of the past month, which is t minus 1, which is the 1st week. In this case, these are weeks, it's not month. So let's go back again. If you're going to look at the forecast for week 2, then you're going to take the forecast of the prior week, which is the 1st week, plus the smoothing factor times the actual demand of the prior week minus the forecast of the prior week. So you're going to use the forecast of prior week here. You're going to use the forecast of prior week here. You're going to do the actual of the prior week here. And then you're going to use the smoothing factor to find the weekly forecast. So for instance, for week 1, we do not have anything before that. This is the 1st week that we have. So I'm going to take that as equal to 820. So it is the same as what my demand is, because I do not know the prior weeks. So I'm going to use that as an assumption. And if the actual demand is basically the actual demand, we don't know if the actual demand was 820 or 800. We don't know. That's the reason I'm assuming that it's going to be 820. So first week, we're going to take it as the same as the demand. The second week, we're going to use this formula. What is the formula here? The formula here is going to be the smoothed forecast is going to be equal to the forecast of the prior week, which is this 820 plus, okay, the factor, which is a smoothing factor, which is the alpha, times the actual of the last week is 820, which is actual demand, minus the forecast of the last week, which is going to be 820. I'm going to close all the brackets, and that is going to be 820. Now, if I copy and paste, I'm going to get whatever it is, right? This is where the problem is. So I cannot just copy and paste simply because, see this one here, you need to use what is called a different reference. We're going to use an absolute reference. If you just copy and paste, you're going to get the same value or some other value, because when you copy and paste, it is going to change. Okay, because 0.2 will become 0.0, 0, like that. It changes at every place. So this alpha is a constant. So we need to make sure that this alpha, which is actually P3, which is here P3, should be an absolute. So I'm going to make it as an absolute, which is $P$3. And now if I go and copy that, I should be fine. So make sure when you're doing copying and paste, you need to make sure how you're going to use the reference. The reference should be pretty well defined, and if you want to be an absolute if you see anything constant like this, you need to use an absolute difference. If you do not have a constant, of course, in Excel, you just copy and paste, everything will change. Okay, so now we know the answer is for the 10th week, it is 759.61. 759.61. That is your, and for the third week it is 811, and so on and so forth. This is how you calculate the simple exponential smoothing using the smoothing factor. Okay, so I'm going to move on. This is the module for the first one. I'm going to go to the module 2, and then we are going to do the linear seasonality and trend and things like that in the next one, in the next video.